Okay. Nama Om Vishnuvadaya Krishna Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pracharini Nirvashisha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Ajnanatamadassya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance.
I was born in
the darkest ignorance.
And my spiritual master opened my eyes.
And my spiritual
master opened my eyes.
With the torch of knowledge.
With the torch of knowledge.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto him.
I offer my respectful
obeisances unto him.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Jai. Hari Bol.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Chapter 9, which is entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. And it's been, the last few sessions have been really riveting. I wouldn't say riveting, but very ecstatic. Maybe not even ecstatic, very pleasant. Maybe that's the best word. And so we're looking at what's most confidential. We're entering into the middle of the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. And we left off at which particular sloka last week? Anybody remember?
We start with 9.4.
Yes, we did the sky. Well, that's the analogy of the sky. That's chapter 9, verse 6. That we did.
No, 9. We have to start. We finished only 9.1, 2, 3.
But I remember us doing 6. Sankalpa, I remember her. Thought we were talking about. Unless I've got another group, but there's several groups that I deal with every. But I remember doing that one. Is anybody taking note? Who's our secretary here?
Vaishnavi, are you the secretary?
I think so. Host and secretary. Come on, nobody can remember.
No, I think we got up to 7 because that's where I bookmarked. I think 8 is where we were supposed to start off.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. We definitely did 6 that I recall.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. You're behind by just 1 week, no problem. Okay, so we're going to go for 8. Okay, so I'll start with that one. Prakriting swam avashtabhya vishrajami punha buddhagramam imam kritsnam avashang prakriter vashat. Translation: the whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end. Okay, great. So this is in the purport and also a repeating theme of how things are very cyclic in our understanding of the cosmic order. And let's look at the word by word a little bit. Prakritim, everybody knows that one, material nature. And Vishrajami was the second part of the quadrant. I create. And then the word quite something that should be resonating with us by now, this word punaha, again and again. Uttagramas evayam. Elsewhere in the Gita, where again and again living beings are manifested and then they're drawn in. And we talked about the example of the spider who releases his web that makes quite a fanciful, like my mother used to make doilies to put on like a table, decorative doilies. And I was quite impressed. And so now spiders do that with their web, and they get a little sticky when you're walking through the forest, early in the morning after they've had a whole evening, a nighttime party. So then if the spider wants, he or she can just wrap it all back into the body again, or at least a good portion of it. So this is the example of Vishnu's unleashing all this power and energy and Shakti. Parasha Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. And one of those energies is the Prakriti energy. Prakriti Shakti, you can say. And a host of beings are released, brought back in. So Prabhupada uses the word cosmic order. There's an order to it all. And he expresses that planets are within the cosmos and they tend not to clash with each other. They have their own orbit. Once in a while we hear about there's some big chunk coming from somewhere and it loses its control and it lands somewhere, and sometimes on our earthly planet. But in general, there seems to be this law and order, like this perfect traffic organization where planets are kind of respecting each other, doing social distancing of each other. But the point is that the planets are there, there's life on all planets. That's our full conviction. And so when trying to understand the absolute, the personality of Godhead, we also have to take a little bit of a look at what he's done, what he's created, And I think this is something that hits us all when we're young and we're wondering about the stars in the night and how the luminaries got there. I think it's a big part of our journey, our sojourn, and our wonder. And it's very natural to deny these wonders of the world is to deny the human right. But what we have done, however, we try to challenge these heavenly bodies by creating our big, high rises, and having light shows and everything. We're just a poor imitation of what's already going on up there. That's the thing. So, and we should never stop wondering like a child. We should always take a trip out of the city, get away from these crazy, and come up north and see the northern lights. That is humbling. I'll tell you that. That's a humbling experience. Once I was flying in a plane, and from just Toronto to Thunder Bay, it's an hour and a half flight, and we were right in the middle of the northern lights. It was so amazing. From your little window, you could only see so much, but it was just the thought that we were just a little light, a little piece of aircraft going through this amazing light display. And that's probably the closest thing you're going to see to the Viratrup that Arjuna was seeing. All right. So if anybody has any comments on this, as we're talking, you can always browse through the purport. There's no problem with that. We can always highlight something from the purports.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Prabhupada.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
So Maharaj, the question comes in my mind is, at what point the annihilation is done, and when it is annihilated.
Those calculations and astrological calculations are given in the Vedas. Like, we're to understand that at the end of the Kali Yuga, there will be some annihilation. It may not be a complete one, but there will be something happening. 420, 32,000 years, 5,000 we've covered. So, at the end of the dark age, which we're living in, there's supposed to be some little bit of trouble going on.
Mhm. Okay.
As they sometimes say that the SHIT hits the fan. And so that is what's going to be happening. So you better get serious about your developing your higher consciousness and developing your prema, so that we don't have to see the gruesome, let's say, deterioration of the world. As and we think that everything is pretty broken down now, morally and everything, but things are to get worse. They might get a little better before they get worse. There's going to be little spurts, like in the winter, you see little hints of spring coming through. But things will fall apart. The only thing that really glows is the presence of the holy name. And the holy name, it's like the chanting is like the yagyas of the past, the fire pits, the pits of Vishnu, where they have the yagyas, fires lit. And it's supposed to be the ear is supposed to be the fire pit for this age, the 2 ears. And then the tongue is supposed to be active. That's the ladle with the ghee that goes into the fire pit. And so this is what we understand by yajna in the Kali Yuga, this dark time. So in former ages, it was a big deal, having fire ceremonies. It was just a big spectacle, really. And everyone would participate, and there would be song, there would be dance, there would be merrymaking of different sorts and kinds. People would throw ghee at each other, turmeric, and it'd be like it was a party. It was a party of a very different kind, and it didn't have any of these, let's say, really, let's say, more degraded kind of connotations and innuendos of today. So those were the days, my friends. And however, we can certainly bring back an element of that. Prabhupada brought to us havans as well on a small scale. The first ones practically choked everyone up with the smoke coming out. And they were outdoor events. That's the other thing, or at least in a courtyard of a big temple. And, it was grandiose. It was gala events. That's what they were. So what we have now is somewhat reduced in size, but we're hoping that many people will take to this, and that the idea, the notion of partyism, having a good time, will be redefined for a lot of people. Be redefined. That's one of the best things that Prabhupada did. The people that came to him were actually party animals. It's a fact. They party animals, and because they were experimenters, they went through everything. They were so really, but I think many of them soul searching. And then Prabhupada gave them a different kind of food, which is always let's say, a component of a party, and a different kind of music, but the same kind of activities. You dance, you sing, you eat. There's And when you get a little tired, you sleep like people do at parties. Just take it. So anyways, that's it. And this is for for the Lord, this rolling out of the cosmic features is also, it's kind of like his party. It's his merry time. Okay, yeah, somebody was just calling in. You might have lost a few words there. But does anybody have any comments at all?
I have a little comment just, so you said it's in the material energy, it will just get worse. It will just get worse in the material energy. And so we think that people might become more spiritually inclined. But I'm wondering if that is really happening, or if they just, try to just somehow fix the material energy and make it work. And I mean, the medias are filled with those kind of endeavors, and they're showing that things can get better if we do this or this or this or this. So as devotees, we have to be so adapted to these kind of developments and be so sharp to how we can make Krishna consciousness more attractive, because there's a lot of problems outside, but there's also problems, in the devotee community. So how to convince people that there is a solution to everything, all the problems in the material.
Well, I guess first of all, we have to be convinced that Krishna consciousness is a solution in life by practicing it ourselves, and then you get a confirmation. The affirmation is in the practice itself, like Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita that it is joyfully executed, and it's by direct perception of the self one can gain, a happy situation. So if we look again at that, one of our favorite verses in the Gita, Rajaguyam, Pavitram idamuttamam, Paratyaksha Bhagamam Dharamyam, Susakam Karatum Aviyam. This is kind of like the essence of our culture, found in chapter 9, this chapter, text 2. There's wisdom that we put into practice, and it's considered to be a secret of a secret to a lot of people, because people are not always willing to try. So it's a little bit, let's say, tucked away. It's a culture that's a little bit hidden. And of all forms of wisdom and education, this is the purest, because it actually does cleanse within. It creates a purging. And I think that's what most people really want inside. They want to be clean. You practice this, and you get direct perception of the self by realization. I hope we're looking at verse number 2. And it is perfection of religion, or dharma. I mean, when we talk about dharma, like religion, it's sometimes it's an interesting word. Dharma can also be defined as, the essence of life. And so it is the essence of the essence. People perform dharma, which is proper action. Okay, but to get to the essence of that proper action means to actually really have full appreciation and gratitude. It's also expressed here to be as everlasting and avyayam, and it's joyfully performed. So I think we can look to this verse for some answers. I think that everything is there for a practitioner to be happy. maybe part of your concern is how can we make it attractive? I think that there's something to be said about that. That we need to learn how to market a little more effectively, and get a little bit out of the 1974 slump, and get a little caught up with the new world, and just market ourselves so it comes across as, well, hip, let's say, cool, which it is. So, and so the problems that people face in Kali Yuga, they're deep, socially entrenched, multiple problems on all levels: psychological, mental, physical. People are spiritually confused. Yeah, and there's a lot of spiritual sickness out there too that Prabhupada addresses. The tendency towards, denying the individuality, personality of Godhead, and so on like that. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of ills. But I guess we can, if we apply ourselves, we will demonstrate a kind of stability and joy, and people will become convinced when they see, okay, you're practicing what you're talking about, and I see you've got stability in your life. And that's probably the main reason why people join spiritual groups and organizations. They want stability in their lives. They don't. Nobody wants shakiness. They want to avoid confusion, but they don't know how. So we can give some hints, drop some hints how to do that. I don't know. Does that help out a little bit? Does anybody else have some thoughts?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj.
If I can ask you once again, you're just saying, what's the solution to the problems? First of all, grab a hold of your identity. Who are you? A lot of people have identity crisis. A lot of people, they don't know what to do with themselves. They're 25 years old. I'm not sure what to do. In terms of where they fit in socially. A lot of confusion about just broken families, and just a lot of confusion about people's, sexual orientation in terms of, am I a man? Am I a woman? I'll be a man a few days and then I'll be a woman, or and that's thrown out at the kids who don't even have a chance to live out their full childhood. So, I don't know, this age of confusion, Kali Yuga. Know who you are, know what you are, and get on with it. Get spiritual, move ahead. All right. Should we go to the next shloka?
Thank you.
Okay.
Who would like to read this verse?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I can read it.
Okay, thank you for volunteering.
Oh, Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I am never detached from all these material activities, seated as thought neutral.
As though neutral. Okay. Again, I like the way that the word is used, Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya means one who's victorious at, achieving wealth. And this has to do with the pastime of Yudhishthira, when Arjuna was trying to achieve wealth to offer to the king of the world, Yudhishthira, who really didn't want it, but it's part of the package deal for the sovereign of the world. So, gatherer of wealth. There is wealth in being detached. See, we know Krishna owns everything. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. That is part of the one of the three items that make up the peace formula. Sarvaloka Maheshwara means that there's a God. God owns everything. God's the enjoyer. Ultimately, God's everyone's friend. But Krishna is saying that there's an element of detachment in me, even though I have everything. I take a neutral position. So therefore, the word is used to address Arjuna, to say, Dhananjaya, you have, extraordinary opulence, or you've been able to accrue affluence, goods, acquiesce. You have acquired many things. But know it for certain that we don't really need these things in the end. So every time we see a word that's used to address Krishna and Arjuna, it has a purpose. When Krishna talks about Dhananjaya, that use of that nomenclature, there's a poetical meaning behind it and a philosophical meaning. Oh, Dhananjaya, you who are not a poor man, please know that you should be detached from everything that you have. It's just kind of a reminder. Krishna's saying something with an undercurrent. Anything else that anyone would like to offer?
Right, I like the example of
We
the
expressed it last week. I'm sorry?
and I like the example of the spider, that he creates
Oh,
the
yes.
web that is sticky, and especially for the prey, but it's not sticky for the spider.
Right. Right. So you're talking about how he's neutrally situated. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. Very nice. So some or other, we have to stick to Krishna's lotus feet. If you want to get sticky, stick to your sadhana, stick to your, stick to your values and your principles, and stay there. Be stable. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, let's go to the next verse. I'll never forget this one. I was on a train and I was going through Bengal. This goes back quite a few years ago. And we're looking at text number 10, right? And one beautiful thing about India is that everybody wants to hear. They want to hear what you have to say, a talk, spiritual talk. It's still a big drive. It's a big attraction. There's no place like it in the world, right? You start, if you're a street corner in India, people, they may stop, or especially at a train station. If you do something here, downtown Toronto, start talking spiritual, people just walk by. Unless if you really got the gift of gab. So anyways, I was talking on a train and everyone was listening. Oh, this white guy, he's speaking Sanskrit. So anyways, Mayajikshina Prakriti Suyate Sucharacharam Hetunanini Nikonteya Jagat Vipari Bharatate. So when I said Jagat Vipari Bharatate, there was a Bengali couple there. So, it's Jagot. It's Jogot. Okay, I didn't say it quite the Bengali. And that's why I'll never forget this verse, because they were hammering it. No, not Jagat, it's Jogot. Anyways, what is Jogot? Or what is Jagat? We're talking about the universe. This is a verse that I believe devotees should learn. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Sorry, I took I just grabbed the verse. Again, the same thing, messages coming through, just spoken in slightly different ways. The energies are coming from the Lord. Parasha. Shaktir Vivadhaiva Shruyate. All energies come from one place, from a person, the prime entity, as Prabhupada puts it. And all energies are working under my direction, remotely, but more directly, it's devatas. It's funny how in this world, you know, God gives us everything for free, the wind, the rain, the sun, et cetera. And then man takes it and owns it and says, okay, we're charging you. Like when I was young, I would never believe they're gonna charge for water in a bottle. They'll sell water in bottles. I would never believe it would have been like that. But you have to pay for electricity, you have to pay for gas, you have to pay for, and God's just throwing it out there, grab it, and then people, just like a man or a woman, photographer takes a picture of a sunset and said, "This is mine. It's copyrighted." People make music and they copyright it. They don't know that Shabda Kapur or Sundar Shu, that your voice, your ability, it's not yours really. It's something that you're borrowing in this life. And with this body, we claim proprietorship very superficially here in this verse and adjoining verses. We're appreciating that, listen, Krishna is really pulling the strings. He is pulling the strings. He's pressing the buttons. And we're claiming we are doing it. Okay, any points you want to make about that? Again, talking about the manifestation of the world. It's created and then it's annihilated. And then again and again. All right. So you might take note of this verse and learn it. It's a good one. 9:10. Here's another one. 9:11. Haribol. 9:11. And I think, you know, what we can do is spend the rest of the time with our session today on the verse and the purport. It is powerful, okay? So someone, I'm going to say the Sanskrit. Vajananti mang mudha manasantanam ashritam parang bhavam ajananto mama buddha maheshwaram. Someone can give us the translation?
Okay, can I go?
I think so. You're the host.
Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be.
Right. And this is hitting onto a new point. It's a new little phase of this chapter where we're addressing people who miscalculate Krishna. They misunderstand him. So they're called mudha. Mudha. Avajananti mang mudha. Prabhupada was talking to some members of a spiritual group, and Prabhupada was talking to them about how God should be understood, and they were saying, "Oh, Swamiji, no one has ever seen God. No one has ever seen God." And then Prabhupada jumped in. He said, "No, you have never seen God." But that doesn't mean that no one has ever seen God. You have not seen God. And then he quoted Bhagavad Gita, Avajananti mang mudha manisim tanam ashritam. Like he was indirectly calling them fools, but I don't think they knew the translation exactly. So it's a little bit preposterous to say that no one has seen the absolute, that no one has seen what is ultimately divine. You can't make that claim for the whole world. So they said, no one has ever seen Prabhupada. You have not seen. He was very forceful. So if you have trouble, like Muda, we don't generally, Vaishnavas, we don't like to call people by names and use not unwholesome names. But I think when you look in the mirror, you can use this word. You are a Muda. You're a fool. You're an ass. and this is one of the reasons, because we misunderstand the absolute. Okay, so I think what we can do here, we have a few people on board today. Let's get someone a chance to read the purport. All right, who hasn't had the opportunity yet?
Rain can go.
Sure, Rain, please.
Should I
Rain
do
can
the
go.
whole?
We had some today.
You want me to do just a few paragraphs?
Yeah, just read the first paragraph,
Okay,
and we'll
this is
see
first.
if
Cool.
anybody wants to discuss, and then we'll get someone to read the next.
Cool. From the other explanations of the previous verses in this chapter, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although appearing like a human being, is not a common man. The personality of Godhead, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestations, cannot be a human being. Yet there are many foolish men who would consider Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing more. Actually, he is the original Supreme Personality, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Paramaha Krishnaha. He is the Supreme Lord.
Okay, great. Any comments from that, Prabhus? Anybody? Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj,
Yes.
in Mahabharata, Duryodhan, right?
Yes.
Duryodhan doesn't recognize Krishna as a god. Not many people in that, Dushasan, all these people. They are very close to him. Still, they cannot recognize Krishna.
Yeah.
What is the reason?
Well, Duryodhan, he was very overwhelmed by, some of the qualities that we read about in chapter 16 of what is a demonic individual. And demon, like a whimsical person. That's maybe the choice word we like to use sometimes, whimsical. He was overwhelmed by greed and lust and anger, and he was not willing to hold to promises that were made. He was not willing to share, as we know in the case of the Pandavas, to share land, and unjust. He was good to his own people, but he was very, let's say, harsh towards others. Lust and anger and greed. Yeah, he was the epitome, and he was not nice to his uncle as well, not just the Pandavas, but to his uncle, and also very unpleasant towards Krishna. Just like the next film we're going to do, drama's called The Embassy. I got it right here. And this is written by a playwright. His name is Bas from South India. And from several centuries ago, it's translated into classical English. And what's the story about? It's about Duryodhan rallying his troops, getting them all together, and in this particular story, Krishna comes to visit. Krishna comes as an envoy. He comes to try to make peace, but Duryodhan doesn't recognize his worth. I mean, in this particular script, Duryodhan looks really bad. Like he's like a scoundrel. And Krishna looks like he is. Of course, Krishna raises his voice. That he does, and he has to do, because he's dealing with a rascal. One of Prabhupada's favorite words. So you can say he's the topmost rascal. He didn't recognize Krishna's worth, and that was his downfall. That was the reason why he crumbled, and his empire did too. But thank you, Prabhu. So he had a problem. So let's not go that route, okay? In fact, here I'll give you, I have to share with you a little bit of the script. It's so much fun. Okay. Let's say this. Wait a minute. Tell me what is the proper thing to do. Forgive me. Okay. He asks his, this is what do you, he asks all his men there, the assembly, what is the best thing to do with this Krishna? And they say, honor him. Said, no, that's not what I say. Prison, the place where he was born. That is the place where he should be. So anyways, he says, well, tell princes, what is the proper thing to do with Krishna, who has come as an envoy? What do you say? He should be received with honor? That is not my opinion. Prison, the place he was born, I think is the best place for him. If Krishna is made captive, the Pandavas will have lost their eyes. And he goes on. He was not nice. So that's the point. He's a Muda. All right, let's go to the next paragraph. Someone else? Don't wait too long. Time is ticking away.
I can read. I can read.
Okay. Give us the second paragraph, okay?
Yeah. There are many Ishwaras, controllers, and one appears greater than another. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, we find some official or director, and above him there is a secretary, and above him a minister, and above him a president. Each of them is a controller, but one is controlled by another. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller. There are many controllers, undoubtedly, both in the material and spiritual world, but Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishvara, Parama Krishna, and his body is Satchit Ananda, non-material.
Very good, okay. As you could notice, Prabhupada quotes from the Brahma Samhita quite a lot. Someone else for the next paragraph, please.
Maharaj, may I please read?
Oh, yes, please. I don't know who we're talking to.
Maharaj, it says River, but my name is Mark Merchant. That's my son's name, and I don't have this app figured out. So for some reason, it's got my son's name instead of mine.
Thank you, Mark. It's great to have you on board.
You
Go
can
ahead.
rename yourself.
Could you please repeat?
You can rename yourself if you want.
I
Anyway,
looked around and I tried it. I'll take it up after class and I'll try and figure that out. Thank you.
River's a great name. I love it.
I'll
We've
take
got
it.
River, we've got Rain. What else do you want?
There you go. I'll need to see the verse, Maharaj. I don't have anything else. It was on the screen. You had it, and I'll get going.
There you go. Yep.
Thank you very much. Material bodies cannot perform the wonderful acts described in previous verses. His body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man. His body is called here Manusim, because he is acting just like a man. A friend of Arjun's, a politician involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. In so many ways, he is acting just like an ordinary man, but actually his body is such Chid Ananda Vigraha, eternal bliss and knowledge, absolute. This is confirmed in the Vedic language also. Such Chid Ananda Rupaya Krishnaya. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the eternal blissful form of knowledge. There are other descriptions in the Vedic language also. And it kind of cuts off at that point.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much. You are Govinda, the pleasure of the senses and the cows, such Chidananda Vigraham. And your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternality.
Okay, thank you. This just clarifies how what Krishna's body is made up of, that he's not an ordinary individual. Okay, thank you so much, Mark. And then let's go for the next. Someone else like to volunteer?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Can I read?
Manasika, yes, please.
Despite the transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna's body, its full bliss and knowledge, there are many so-called scholars and commentators of Bhagavad Gita who deride Krishna as an ordinary man. The scholar may be born an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, but this conception of Sri Krishna is due to a poor fund of knowledge. Therefore, he is called Muda, for only foolish persons considers Krishna to be an ordinary human being. The foolish consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different energies. They do not know that Krishna's body is a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss, that he is the proprietor of everything, and that he can award liberation to anyone. Because they do not know that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications, they deride him.
Yes. So I think people are very judgmental. They make judgment on people without really getting to know them. It's a very bad habit that we have. And this also simply applies to the personality of Krishna. People don't take enough time to explore an individual. They just make judgment very quickly and have all these biased ideas about someone in general. It's a very strong feature in Kali Yuga, no doubt. Okay, then next paragraph for someone.
I can read, Maharaj.
Hey, Haribo. Go ahead, Mandala.
Nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his internal energy. He's the master of the material energy, as has been explained in several places. Mama Maya Duratyaya. He claims that the material energy, although very powerful, is under his control, and whoever surrenders unto him can get out of the control of this material energy. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? So this conception of Krishna is complete foolishness. Foolish persons, however, cannot conceive that the personality of Godhead, Krishna, appearing just like an ordinary man, can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The biggest and the minutest are beyond their conception. So they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. Actually, although he is controlling the infinite and finite, he is apart from all this manifestation. It is clearly stated concerning his Yogam Aishvarya, his inconceivable transcendental energy, that he can control the infinite and finite simultaneously, and that he can remain aloof from them. Although the foolish cannot imagine how Krishna, who appears just like a human being, can control the infinite and finite, those who are pure devotees accept this, for they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, completely surrender unto him and engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service to the Lord.
Thank you very much. Any comments there? You can see Prabhupada speaking or writing very eloquently to support what's mentioned in this shloka, in this verse. Someone else? Who hasn't had a chance yet? Time is ticking away.
Oh, I was waiting for the end because that's my favorite part.
Yeah, well, the end is coming. Definitely, the end is good.
Okay,
But if we don't start reading what's in the middle, we'll never get to the end.
Then I can read. There are many controversials between the impersonalists and the personalists about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative texts for understanding the science of Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not an ordinary man, although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary human. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Shaunaka inquired about the activities of Krishna, they said, Kritavan kila karmani saha Ramena Keshavaha Ati Martyani Bhagavan Guda Kapata Manushaha. Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being, and so masked he performed many superhuman acts. The Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. While Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with 4 hands. But after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. As stated in Bhagavatam 10:346, Babhuva Prakrita Shishuho. He became just like an ordinary child, as ordinary human being. Now here, again it is indicated that Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also, it is stated that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of 4 hands. Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human-like form, Manusham Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being.
Thank you very much. Do we have another enthusiastic person to read the next paragraph? We're going to fit it into our time.
I can read, Maharaj.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Some of those who deride Krishna and who are infected with the Mayavadi philosophy quote the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.21 to prove that Krishna is just an ordinary man. Aham sarvasya bhutesu bhutatma vasistha sadha. The Supreme is present in every living entity. We should better take note of this particular verse from the Vaishnava Acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura, instead of following the interpretation of unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiva Goswami, commenting on this verse, said that Krishna, in his plenary expansion as Paramatma, is situated in the moving and the non-moving entities as the super soul. So any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archa Murti, the form of Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect other living entities, is uselessly worshipping the form of the Lord in the temple. There are 3 kinds of devotees of the Lord, and the neophyte is the lowest stage. The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than other devotees. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur wants that this sort of mentality should be corrected. The devotees should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, every body in the embodiment or the temple of the Supreme Lord. So as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should simply properly respect each and every body in which the Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected.
Okay, and I'm going to go for the last one. There are also many impersonalists who deride temple worship. They say that since God is everywhere, why should one restrict himself to temple worship? But if God is everywhere, is he not in the temple or in the deity? Although the personalists and the impersonalists will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the Supreme Personality, he is all-pervading, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavan, and he is always staying there by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. Hare Krishna. powerful verse, powerful purport, especially at the end, which was pointed out that, you know, we should, these days where I am located here in Toronto, we're looking at the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. There's very, very descriptive details about what is a Kanishta Adhikari, and that is outlined here. Don't be a fool. Don't be Kanishta, or at least try to get yourself out of that framework. Kanishta means not very developed. You believe in Krishna, you see Krishna and the deity, but you can't really perceive him outside of the deity. And it should be quite obvious that devotees of the Lord are, you know, representation of Krishna. Krishna's present in them. In fact, he's present everywhere. As you know, as super soul, he's in the heart of every living entity, every atom. So 9/11, you know, think about it. It's a bombshell of a verse. And we should never fall prey to this idea that Krishna is only in the deity or in the temple, and I can't find him anywhere else. Well, broaden your horizons and try to really absorb the true teachings of the Gita, whereby we find so many examples of where Krishna can be found everywhere. He's found in your work. He's found in your austerity. He's found in the good food, the prasadam that you offer. He's found in, you know, the trials, the difficulties, and also the joys of life, you know. This is what it means to be Krishna conscious, to be conscious of him everywhere and in everything. Okay, remember 9/11, please. And if you like to use bad words, you get a chance to use bad words like mudha. Any of you are inclined to memorize shlokas? Take this one, 9/11. It's funny, when I look at my phone, oftentimes what numbers show up is 9/11 or 108, sometimes 7-Eleven, like the store, the variety convenience store. Well, so listen, I want to thank you all for jumping on board. We're going to see you next week. And
I'm sorry, I have one more question real quick.
Okay.
In some of the purports, there are some derogative words used to describe certain classes of people, like fools, rascals, and so on. I usually laugh about it, but then on the other hand, we also don't want to be judgmental to people that are still in ignorance. So,
Yeah.
so you know what my question is.
Well, yeah, I mean, strong words are used to get a point across. Some people are absolutely wrong in their approach to life. But when we are, you know, we should also see the good in everybody. You know, don't hate the sinner, hate the sin rather, not the sinner, as you've heard that phrase, right? So, yeah, people are foolish. So Krishna even says mudha, but we don't necessarily have to see people like that. He's making the point. Sometimes, you know, black and white is presented, so it becomes very clear. But as we mature in our Krishna consciousness, we should use a very careful choice of words and, you know, when addressing people. So I think ask Krishna to help you with the particular, choice of words so that someone will be enthused to get out of their conditioned state to come to a free state. So, you know, I don't think you will be very successful if you start to say, you're a fool and you're a rascal. Why do you say that? Because God says so in the Bhagavad Gita. No, God wants us to use our intelligence. You know, he wants to be choosy. I'm going to come down. I'll come down. And so do whatever it takes to encourage people in Krishna consciousness. I mean, sometimes people have to be put on the spot, you know, but let God say it. You don't have to say it. Prabhupada would also use words like rascal. But he said, I can do that because I'm an old man. And people will kind of like it. But if we say that, you know, if you're a young punk, you know, you start talking like you'll get a few blows at you. Yeah, so. And that's why I mentioned like demons. It's a strong word, but you can see in the purports, Prabhupada uses in other words, those who are whimsical. You know, I think that's, you know, or confused. Maybe those are softer words that we can use to be effective. Yeah, if we want to attract intelligent people, then, you know, we have to be very meticulous about our language. Anyways, we live in an age where people use all kinds of filthy language. You know, it's just, I can't believe how like every other word is like, really? Don't you have a better vocabulary? Did you go to school?
Yeah.
Did your mother teach you these words? I'm like, really
In the name of free speech, in the name of free speech, we can just call anybody anything. Like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, but we're, you know, our idea of freedom is to use eloquence, you know, use words that will encourage, you know. But if we call Duryodhana, say that he was a nice guy, that wouldn't be right. He was a rascal. So thank you very much, everybody, for jumping on board this week. And we hope to see you next week. Mark, can you join us again next week?
If I have a cancellation in my work, and yeah, I would hop in here. I got a break. So it's a real treat. I wanted to say thank you, all of you today very much. This is exciting. I haven't hung out with the devotees like this in some time. So it's been real enlivening. I appreciate all of you, especially yourself, Maharaj. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you very much. And I will say, Haribol to Radha Madhava, who's in the corner. He's there all the way from Calgary. Haribol Radha Madhava. Jai.
We can never see you, Radha Madhava. Where are you?
You just have to work across the street. You live in the same city. You moved up. Okay. Hare Krishna. Take care.
Panchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyeva cha patithanam pavanebhyo
Hare Krishna.